What's a me without its stories? What are you without any story at all? Just here, right now, without any story. And you can sort of feel this sense of wanting to grab hold of a story because it feels foreign to not have a story. Feels naked. I don't want to be naked. I want some clothes. Clothes being a story. I want to cover myself with a story, quick. Because if I'm here without any story, anything can happen at any moment. Freedom doesn't have a story. If it did, it wouldn't be free. As a me, that's all I have are stories. And that's why I don't feel free. So you may notice the me jumps from one story to another story, always looking for a better story, but it's still a story. And that's why there's no freedom for the me. Who would I be without my story? Nothing. And yet the paradox is life continues to go on. The body moves, chores seem to get done, going to work seems to happen, but it's just all happening like a dream. And so if trying to hang on to a particular story, then that's just what's happening within the dream. But for some of us, that dream-like existence can become painful. Like trying to keep clothes on a new baby, a little, 1-year-old wants to tear its clothes off and run around. It hasn't learned yet to be proper. And in a way, that's what we're doing in society, is supporting each other's stories.
I think it's more fun to run naked, no story.
Who's that?
Elijah.
Yeah, to me, that sounds scary. Oh, but I don't want to be naked. I'm too exposed. I'm too vulnerable. But once you try it, you realize there actually was never anything to fear. The little kid running around naked's having a blast. He's not concerned with how he looks. He's not learned to be self-conscious.
Innocent.
Yeah, innocent. Exactly. Right. And now, to go to a story, we have the Garden of Eden and covering ourselves with fig leaves because suddenly we knew we were naked and were embarrassed.
So now we cover ourselves with stories.
Exactly. So you can begin to notice that. There can be a dropping away of stories, a loss of interest, I would say. They no longer interest you, where maybe at one time there was great interest in getting ahead, having a successful career, getting married, finding a significant other, making a lot of money, whatever. They can seem important for a while and then suddenly they just run out of gas. Running naked, running naked becomes your only interest. So this is an open meeting, meaning everybody's invited to participate. So if you have any comments, questions, whatever, go ahead and unmute yourself and jump in.
There's a beautiful sense of freedom with no story.
Yeah.
And even expansion.
I had a picture from an old meeting from a couple of years ago of a guy weighed down on his back. It's a cartoon, and he has about 5 or 6 suitcases of luggage on his back, and he's like hunched over. And I wrote, these are your stories that you're carrying around. I'm this, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm these many years old. These are the things I like, these are the things I don't like, all that. Like you'll know in the moment. You don't have to know. Like if I put some ice cream in front of you, I put chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla, and I say, go for it. Have whichever one of the three is your favorite. Dig in. You don't need to have a story. You'll just find yourself reaching for chocolate if that's what you prefer, strawberry or vanilla. It'll just all spontaneously happen with no effort.
There was a reality TV show, a dating show called Baggage. And each one would come on and they'd have all these stories and baggage. And, I don't know if anybody ever dated each other, but.
But that's kind of what we do, Leighton, is we compare, like we meet someone, if they have similar baggage to ours, we're like, yeah. But if their baggage is really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Damaged goods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? So what one person thinks is, freaky, someone else goes right on.
Mm.
one of my stories is in this context when I drop the stories, it becomes difficult to, like, people that I relate to, my social environment is used to my character acting a certain way and coming with a certain set of stories. And so if I just had a friend drop in today and he was totally lost with me not serving up my typical stories. And I just couldn't help it. I didn't feel like I, wanted to play my usual role. And so he left.
Yeah, that can happen.
He came over and said, he wanted to talk with me because he thought I had an issue. And I really couldn't think of an issue at the moment, which seemed normal for now, but in the past, there were always issues, and I ran around to people talking about it, and he was one of them. And so, the game that we have is I have an issue, and he is coaching me and counseling me on the issue. And so today, I just, I dropped a little bit of jargon on him for lack of a better, I just said, the Peter that you're visiting just isn't here, it just, it's just not home. And that, that was kind of the end of it.
Yeah, you're pouring water on hot coals.
Yeah, because traditionally that's how me's interact. Here, let me tell you about my issues and you tell me about yours, and we can commiserate, we can agree, we can disagree, but at least we have issues we can sort of meet around. If one person doesn't have anything, you can just listen. You can still meet with people, but you'll find yourself maybe doing more listening.
And that is a very, very kind thing to do.
I've been a compulsive entertainer. I realize when it's quiet, I'm the one who brings out the story to have something to do. As you said earlier, Michael, I resonated strongly when you said the me just doesn't want to just sit in silence. It really hates sitting in silence and having no story to hit back and forth.
Yeah, because the me is always doing, do. And silence doesn't give, there's nothing for me to do with silence. Well, but give me a juicy story. Tell me a problem. Oh, there we go, Peter. Then we can get to work, right? I can roll up my sleeves and now I got a project and off we go.
Right.
And all that me is like a pattern of thinking and attention that goes to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is, right? It's like thought, attention, action. And that's it. And that's
Identification is another word that comes up, that the voice seems to be me, the thoughts, the action, that's all part of me.
Because it seems to be occurring, seems to be occurring in this body, or that's what we've been told. Like, so the thoughts are in this body, so then that's me.
Right.
Or here, so then it's me. Kind of a question statement.
But the one thing that the me will not do, it will not actually look for itself in this moment. It can't, because it won't find anything. So in a way, we can say that stories are a distraction. Very common, universal way of keep perpetuating the me story, because as long as I'm moving in story, good or bad, drama, comedy, tragedy, whatever it is, usually it's tragedy and drama, then at least I know who I am. But nothing doesn't have a story.
So what would it mean for the me to look for itself? It would just mean when thoughts to consider.
Good question, Jenny. So let's, you know me, I'm about roll. This is a working meeting. We roll up our sleeves, we get dirty. So right now, and we can all do this, really look for the me in this moment as if your life depended on it. Can you find a me? So you can find it maybe a computer screen, or you can find your phone or a laptop. You can find a room, you can find arms, you can find a face. But can you right now, and we're only interested in right now, can the me actually be found?
Or maybe what would you do with the me if you found it?
Well, can you find it?
You can't.
And it shouldn't, the fact that it's quiet and we're looking is sort of, it's almost like you open up a closet and it's empty and you just keep staring in the empty closet, hoping for something to appear. Gosh, it really looks like there's nothing in the closet, but let me really know. There's nothing in the closet. There's not going to be anything in the closet. So there isn't a me. There never was a me. It was a dream.
Well, what kind of happens right there for me is like, there's a stopping that happens before the looking even, because you say look and it's like, so it kind of is like, well, what does that mean to try to look? I mean, there's like with your eyes, but obviously you're not going to see an exterior me. So even there's like a little stop that happens right before the looking even, because
you can look Jenny, you can look anywhere. You can look, quote, we'll just use words, inside you. Look inside what you would think is your brain or your mind or your inside. Look anywhere you want. You're free to inside, outside, up, down, round. The point is, it's an illusion. Illusion means it doesn't actually exist. It seems like it exists. That's the paradox. We're not denying that it does feel at times like there could be a me here, but when actually looked for, it's not there. Ergo, we call it an illusion.
Yeah, the looking, I resonated with Jenny's comment. I didn't know how to look. And now after what you just said, Michael, it seemed to settle in that it really there really isn't anything here. You know, at first I thought it's a belief. I do have to believe it. Or I started with me believing it because, you know, I can't say to these classes or Dan will call me on the carpet here. But no, I've been coming to these meetings for a while and I realize that there is, you know, I'm looking at the distinction between a belief and looking. So it just feels like the looking is starting to come through. It's not that difficult. I thought it would be much more difficult.
Exactly. Yeah, good point, Peter. That's one of the ways the me seems to, again, in quotes, hang around. It seems like it's going to take a lot of time, right? It's going to take time. I'm not seeing it right now, but I feel it, so it must be here. And that's it's the feeling of a me is what seems to, I'm just going to say it seems to trick us. Because it feels like a me, it's assumed that there actually is a me. And a good analogy would be a rainbow. A rainbow seems to be there, but what happens when you go up? You ever seen like a rainbow in sprinklers and you go up and try and grab it? Like kids will run at the rainbow and you try and grab it. What happens when you reach out and try and grab the rainbow? What do you get?
Rain.
You get nothing. You get a fistful of nothing. But there's no denying that it looks like it's there, because you say, no, Michael, there's Roy G. Viv, right? There's the colors of the rainbow. It's there as an illusion. So we're not arguing with that. So it's a paradox. And a paradox means it can't be resolved. And that's what the me is trying to do. It's trying to resolve it and get a final, so I know that I'm not here, and that's impossible. I could say it like this. What's not there now isn't going to know it's not there.
A knife cannot cut itself.
Yeah. But you see the paradox. It seems like there's a me there, so I've got to work and get rid of it. But it's not there in the first place.
I was thinking of an analogy for Jenny, because I see Jenny staring off into space a little bit. Just kidding. You know, when you're listening to a great song or watching a great movie, and you know how you get lost in the song or the movie, and there's a moment there you actually know that you're not, you're lost, you're gone. So there's that feeling where in one way you're completely not there, and then there's that little sense of just you sort of become aware of that. Then you might get back lost in the movie or song again. So that's sort of one way to kind of play with this idea of the not me part of you, if you will. And then I'll give you another one, which happened actually at Michael's house a number of years ago with this woman I've brought up several times in these meetings, but I always like to go to it. And it's the one where you just look out of your eyes and you sort of switch the perspective from I'm looking out of my eyes to something else is looking out of me. And that can be instantaneously helpful to go into that more of that spaciousness of, you know, what we're calling the non-me, if you will. So that's just a couple of ideas to play with that maybe you find helpful.
Thank you.
Nice, Alan. I like both of
Mhm.
those very much because we've all had the experience, right, of watching a movie and forget that we're watching the movie. We're so lost in the movie or TV show that we've completely forgotten ourselves. And then suddenly we're like, oh, I'm in a movie theater. I forgot. And I like your second one as well, Alan, because it's a good point. What's looking right now out your eyes? Is that a me? Or is that something looking out your eyes and you don't know what it is?
And then when you enter that state where there's something looking out of your eyes and you experience that, it's fascinating because then you have a hard time, in a way, finding the me. And that's the cool part, where you're actually living in that space and you're like, because right now if we're intellectually trying to find the me, it's tricky because we're kind of in our bodies, we're in our minds, and we're trying to do a task. But that's why I always love the analogy of getting lost in a song. In sports, it's being in the zone, because you feel gone and you know it. That there's no really you there to know it, but you know it. It's sort of that paradox. But try that one, Jenny. It's really, maybe try it, you know, after the session. It's really you can instantaneously start to feel that space that's not you. Or everybody tried. It's that good.
Well, I've had that experience where, or I have it. I do have that experience already where, or not, like that is experienced where there is just seen. And I also, if attention is put, you know, on different parts of my body, like my hand touching my leg, it's absent of any like own at this point. That it doesn't feel like there's any ownership of that. Just, I can't even tell what's a hand and what's a leg. It's just sensation, you know, if I put it into words. And seeing can, if it's happening from my eyes. Yeah. So I can understand what you're speaking.
So Jenny, as I was watching you, you brought your hands back, and believe it or not, at least I don't know for anyone else, on my video, they disappeared. When your hands went back like that, they began to pixelate, and they no, you brought them straight back, and it's like the camera or something went,
Yeah.
And so that's, you need a story to say, I have a hand. That's a story, believe it or not. Everything's a story. Every word is a story. Every label is a sound.
But the word brings it into existence, apparently. And when the word is spoken, it appears then as if it exists.
Well, it's not really thought this way. Almost nobody thinks of it this way, but a single word is a short story. So woman is a story. Man is a story. Me is a story. Other story.
Story is a story.
Single word can actually be a long story too.
Yeah, Kim Neubauer posted in my non-duality group on Facebook. She said in a comment to something I posted, she said, the me cannot exist without stories.
Story feels so attractive. I feel, seems like even talking about this, so there's such an attraction to it. It seems like it doesn't always feel like for me that I'm trying to escape suffering or necessarily something like I couldn't not listen to people tell stories all the time about it. I don't know.
So, Michael, you just said that a word is a story. And me can't exist without stories. And well, stories, really everything is a story. I mean, everything that shows up that we know is a story. And that's not really, there's no problem with that. You know, that's just what's showing up. And if there was no story to it, it really wouldn't, we wouldn't be able to even recognize anything as showing up. So in a way, the story is kind of the way things appear. But the one story is, and you said it also, Michael, that, well, okay, you just said that the me, what did you say? The me couldn't exist without stories. But the me itself is a story. So the me is the primary, the number one story, which is that I'm here and I'm a thing that exists. And I'm in this world that also exists and is real. And I'm apart from the world. That's how I know there's me, and then I know there's the world. That's the basic story. And then all the other stories get piled on top of or piled around this one little story, which is that I'm here and I'm having an experience as separate. And then, so all the stories tell the story of that one. And then, of course, that being separate, being in this world as separate is a story which is not true. We can say all the other stories they're just things showing up. We could say they're true or they're not, and they're true and not true. You often hear that. It's real and not real. So what else, I mean, what else are you going to say about a story? You know, you can't say what it is, and you can say, you know, it's kind of real because, you know, the walls are real. You know, if you run in front of a bus, you're going to get hit, you know, and that's real. But it's also not real because we don't know what anything is. And that's just the way this is. But this central number one story, which is me, that I'm here, and this experience is a real experience for me, that's not true. That's a complete illusion. So it makes all the other stories, because they're all, you know, piled on top of this foundation of a me, it makes them all untrue and confused. But the me is always trying to get fixed because of this knowing that I'm separate. That means that I need to fix that. I need to do something about that. I can't ignore it because I'm feeling not okay. I'm feeling that something isn't right about what I basically am. And so that's why the involvement with the story is the creation of what happens when I'm, you know, that's the way I'm trying to fix. Because what else do I have to use except the stories of what's going on? Now I'm starting to sound like John, but anyway, and going on a little bit. But it's really not the story that's the problem. It's basically what I'm trying to point to. The stories are just stories, and that's what everything is. But it's the story that's underneath the story, which gives all the stories a meaning. And the meaning is, I'm on my way to being okay by engaging with the stories in my life. A story, big story in my life. Which again, it's not, you can look at it as a bunch of stories, but it's really just one story, my life, and the basic story that I'm here as a separate being. Anyway. But the point is, there's nothing to be done with stories. Stories don't go anywhere. They're just stories. They're just like stuff that shows up. There's nothing to be done about it, except the me story needs to do something. It's already acting. It's already on the move to get my story, get the story right so I can, deal with my problem, which is that I'm not okay. And there only is okay. Stories aren't any solution to anything. They're just stories.
Or as we said earlier, there's no freedom in any story. Welcome, Nkosi.
Hi, Michael. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Nkosi.
Hi, Nkosi.
Hi, Nkosi.
Hello. Yeah, there is no freedom in any story because there are no stories. They just never happened. The me never happened already. So the story can never be found. Even what seems to be the one that is looking for the story is already not there. So there's nothing here. The one looking for enlightenment is already not there. So there's nothing to find here. It's just what is. And everything is beautiful. Every expression is beautiful because it's just this. There is only the unknown. There is no one to know anything here. There's nothing to get here. There's nobody to get anything. There's just this. What seems to be happening has got nothing to do with you. It's just what seems to be happening. And it's going nowhere. And it's beautiful for nobody. There are no real characters here. There are no real stories here. There are no human beings. Everything is this. What seems to be an appearance is just this. Unknowable. So talking is just happening by itself. Nobody's talking. It's just a sound that was given a label, a meaning, but it doesn't mean anything. Because there's no one already who wants to know. So there's nothing going on here. There's nothing happening already. There's nobody here. That's just what is. And the one who wants to know is already not there. What a relief. So this is just here, right now. There are no steps here. There's no process. Don't even have to start from zero. Even before zero. This is right here. This is effortless. There's no effort here. It's so obvious that it doesn't require any effort. It's obvious to nobody. It's obvious to itself because there's only it. Yet it's not even in it. It's not something that what seems to be the mind can grasp. What seems to be the mind may try to understand as much as it can, but it cannot get it. It's beyond the mind, and the mind is already not there. It's an illusion. So this is beyond any understanding. This is beyond any knowledge. So what seems to be the me is already late. That imagination that I'm somebody is already late. This is already here. Yet what seems to be the me is already this. What seems to be something pointing to it is already it. So there's no pointing here. Everything is this. This is effortless and obvious for nobody. Even before a thought appears that says, I think I'm gonna get it. That thought is already late. It's already here. Doesn't need to be gotten. There's no getting it. There's no knowing it. There's no becoming it, because there's only it. Well, everything is beautiful. Everything seems to be alive. Everything is always new. because everything is nothing. So here they're just empty bodies. There's no one in them. They're not even bodies and nameless. So, excuse me, there is no label to anything here. There's no label. Labels are imaginary. So what seems to be everyone and everything is already okay. There's nothing to be fixed. There's no victim, and there are no problems. It's just this. And it's not personal. The one who doesn't like it is already not there. Even the one who likes it. Yeah, that's what seems to be coming up. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So that can't be figured out what Nkosi's sharing. There's just resonance for no one. Something in you just. Any last comments or questions before we close out this evening?
Michael, I just want to say thank you for letting me join you guys. I'm joining you from Atlanta, Georgia. I've watched a few videos of yours on YouTube, and they sound very interesting. So I decided to just join in and listen in. I'm very new to this non-duality thing, but it sounds very interesting. So I just want to say thanks to you all for sharing. I really enjoyed the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Mohammed. It was our pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, so much for coming. We appreciate and love each and every one of you. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks,
Nkosi.
everyone.
You guys,
Nice to
thank you,
have you,
everybody.
Mohammed.
All right. Good night.